The next sutta is 45.28, page 1537. As Savatthi, the Buddha said, "Monks, I will teach you noble right concentration with its supports and accessories. Listen to that." And what monks is noble or Aryan right concentration with its supports and its accessories? These are right view, right thoughts, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right recollection, right mindfulness. This is the support up to right mindfulness, up to right recollection. The one-pointedness of mind equipped with these 7 factors is called noble right concentration with its supports and also with its accessories. So, right concentration is the 4 jhanas. And then Aryan right concentration is the 4 jhanas supported by the other factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. So, you have a noble right concentration, then only you can attain liberation. But those people who practice concentration in the external sects, ascetics, they may have 4 jhanas, but they don't have the other factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. So if they don't have the other factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, that is just right concentration, but it's not noble right concentration, so they won't be able to attain Nibbana because they don't have the other factors. So it's very important that right concentration must always be supported by the other 7 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. The next sutta is 45.49, page 1543. At Savatthi, the Buddha said, "Monks, this is the forerunner and precursor of the rising sun, that is the dawn. So too monks, for a monk, this is the forerunner and precursor for the arising of the Noble Eightfold Path, that is good friendship. When a monk has a good friend, it is to be expected that he will develop and cultivate this Noble Eightfold Path. And how does a monk who has a good friend develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path? Here, monks, a monk develops right view, which is based upon seclusion, dispassion and cessation, maturing in release. Similarly, he develops right thoughts, right speech, etc., which are based on seclusion, dispassion and cessation, maturing in release. It is in this way, monks, that a monk who has a good friend develops and cultivates the Noble Eightfold Path." That's the end of the sutta. So just like you must have the dawn before the rising of the sun, so in the same way, you need to have a good friend before you can walk the Noble Eightfold Path or see the Noble Path, the Noble Eightfold Path very clearly. So a good friend, in our case, the best friend is the Buddha's words. And better still, if you have another spiritual companion who can help you to understand the words of the Buddha. 45.140, page 1551. Monks, just as the footprints of all living beings that walk fit into the footprint of the elephant, and the elephant's footprint is declared to be the chief among them, that is, with respect to size, so too, whatever wholesome states there are all rooted in diligence, converge upon diligence, and diligence is declared to be the chief among them. When a monk is diligent, it is expected that he will develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path. It's the end of the sutta. So the Buddha says that among all footprints, the elephant's footprint is considered the chief because it's the biggest. So similarly, whatever wholesome states there are, diligence is the chief of all wholesome states. Diligence is the chief, the most important, because when we have diligence, then diligence means effort, energetic effort to work to get what you want. So when you put effort in the right way, then you can achieve what you want. Effort also, it must be right effort, put in the right way. The Buddha gave a simile that practicing the right way is extremely important. The Buddha said, somebody heard that you can get oil by crushing sesame seeds. You crush sesame seeds, you can get oil. But he didn't understand what was sesame seeds. He only heard that it's something very small. So he got sand and he tried to crush sand. Can he get oil? He can never get oil because he's crushing the wrong thing. So in the same way, when we practice with effort, we must put effort in the right way. And what is the right way? Only the words of the Buddha can guide us. 45.155, page 1555. Buddha said, monks, just as various winds blow in the sky, easterly winds, westerly winds, northerly winds, southerly winds, dusty winds and dustless winds, cold winds and hot winds, gentle winds and strong winds. So too, when a monk develops and cultivates the Noble Eightfold Path, then for him the 4 intense states of recollection go to fulfillment by development. The 4 right efforts go to fulfillment by development. The 4 bases for psychic power. The 5 faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 factors of enlightenment go to fulfillment by development. And how is this so? Here monks, a monk develops right view, right thoughts, right speech, etc. up to right concentration. This is based upon seclusion, dispassion and cessation, maturing in release. It is in this way, monks, that when a monk develops and cultivates the Noble Eightfold Path, then for him the 4 intense states of recollection, the 4 right efforts, the 4 bases of psychic power, the 5 faculties, etc., all go to fulfillment by development. So, actually, when we want to perfect these 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas, out of these 7 sets, the most important is the Noble Eightfold Path. When you perfect the Noble Eightfold Path, then all the others are perfected. Your 4 Satipatthana, your 4 Iddhipada, your 4 Samappadana, your 5 Indriya, 5 Bala, 7 Bojjhanga, all go to fulfillment. So sometimes people say the only way is the 4 Satipatthana. That's not correct. The only way is the Noble Eightfold Path. As mentioned just now in the Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi's notes, the other factors of these 7 sets are not so important as the Noble Eightfold Path, because the Noble Eightfold Path is the most complete. The next sutta is 45.159. Buddha said, monks, suppose there is a guest house. People come from the east, west, north and south and lodge there. Katyas, that means warrior clan. Brahmins, Vesas are merchants. And Sudas are the workers. Come and lodge there. So too, when a monk develops and cultivates the Noble Eightfold Path, he fully understands by direct knowledge those things that are to be fully understood by direct knowledge. He abandons by direct knowledge those things that are to be abandoned by direct knowledge. He realizes by direct knowledge those things that are to be realized by direct knowledge. He develops by direct knowledge those things that are to be developed by direct knowledge. And what monks are the things to be fully understood by direct knowledge? It should be said, the 5 aggregates of attachment. What 5? The body aggregate of attachment, the feeling, perception, volition, consciousness aggregates of attachment. These are to be fully understood by direct knowledge. And what monks are the things to be abandoned by direct knowledge? Ignorance and craving for existence. These are the things to be abandoned by direct knowledge. And what monks are the things to be realized by direct knowledge? True knowledge and liberation. These are the things to be realized by direct knowledge. And what monks are the things to be developed by direct knowledge? Samatha and Vipassana. These are the things to be developed by direct knowledge. And how is it? Samatha and Vipassana is tranquility or tranquilization of the mind, and contemplation. Contemplation refers mostly to contemplation of the Buddha's words, the Dhamma. And how is it, monks, that when a monk develops and cultivates the Noble Eightfold Path, he fully understands by direct knowledge those things that are to be fully understood by direct knowledge. He develops by direct knowledge those things that are to be developed. Here, monks, a monk develops right view, right thoughts, right speech, etc. up to right concentration, which are based upon seclusion, dispassion, and cessation, maturing in release. It is in this way, monks, that a monk who develops and cultivates a Noble Eightfold Path, so that he fully understands by direct knowledge those things that are to be fully understood by direct knowledge. He abandons what are to be abandoned, and he develops what are to be developed, etc. So this sutta tells us what we need to understand is the five aggregates of attachment. And to understand the five aggregates of attachment, we need the theory and the practice. The theory is to study the Buddha's words concerning the five aggregates. And then the practice is to contemplate the five aggregates, how they arise, how they cease, how they are subject to conditions, etc. And then the things to be abandoned are ignorance and craving for existence. Ignorance we abandon by learning the Buddha's words. But even learning the Buddha's words is not enough. Because if you have a lot of your five hindrances are very strong, then even you read the Buddha's words or listen to the Buddha's words, it doesn't go in very much, doesn't go in very deep. So we need to meditate to get rid of the five hindrances by practicing samatha meditation. And then when the five hindrances are eliminated, then we can understand the Buddha's words and be rid of ignorance. And this craving for existence, we can only abandon when we really understand the Dhamma. Things to be realized by direct knowledge is true knowledge and liberation. Things to be developed, samatha and vipassana. Samatha, of course, you have to meditate to practice to get samadhi, one-pointedness of mind. And vipassana is listening to the Buddha's words or reading the suttas and contemplating to understand. So when we practice the Noble Eightfold Path, these develop naturally. The next sutta, 45.160. Suppose, monks, that when the river Ganges slants, slopes and inclines towards the east, a great crowd of people would come along, bringing a shovel and a basket, thinking, we will make this river Ganges slant, slope and incline towards the west. What do you think, monks? Would that great crowd of people be able to make the river Ganges slant, slope and incline towards the west? No, Venerable Sir. For what reason? Because the river Ganges slants, slopes and inclines towards the east, and it is not easy to make it slant, slope and incline towards the west. That great crowd of people would only reap fatigue and vexation. And the Buddha said, so too, monks, when a monk is developing and cultivating the Noble Eightfold Path, kings or royal ministers, friends or colleagues, relatives or kinsmen might invite him to accept wealth, saying, come, good man, why let these saffron robes weigh you down? Why roam about with a shaven head and a begging bowl? Come, having returned to the lower life, enjoy wealth and do meritorious deeds. Indeed, monks, when that monk is developing and cultivating the Noble Eightfold Path, it is impossible that he will give up the training and return to the lower life. For what reason? Because for a long time his mind has slanted, sloped and inclined towards seclusion. Thus it is impossible that he will return to the lower life. And how, monks, does a monk develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path? Here, monks, a monk develops right view, right thoughts, right speech, etc. up to right concentration, which are based upon seclusion, dispassion and cessation, maturing in release. It is in this way, monks, that a monk develops and cultivates the Noble Eightfold Path. That's the end of the sutta. So, the Buddha says, if a monk really practices the Noble Eightfold Path, then his mind inclines towards seclusion. It can be that he might want to stay alone, or even if he stays with others, then he is aloof. He's aloof from others. He doesn't go into people's kuti and chat and all that. So if he practices seclusion for a long time, then he wants to be alone. Then he will not want to disrobe and go back to society. When you go back to society, you have to mix with a lot of people. When you mix with a lot of people, your mind is always scattered. The next sutta is 45.175, page 1564. Buddha said, "Monks, there are these 7 underlying tendencies." What 7? The underlying tendency to sensual lust, the underlying tendency to aversion, the underlying tendency to views, the underlying tendency to doubt, the underlying tendency to conceit, the underlying tendency to lust for existence, the underlying tendency to ignorance. These are the 7 underlying tendencies. This Noble Eightfold Path is to develop for direct knowledge of these 7 underlying tendencies, for the full understanding of them, for their utter destruction, for their abandoning. So these are the underlying tendencies within each person: the tendency to lust, to aversion, to views, to doubt, to conceit, to lust for existence, to ignorance. The next sutta is 45.177. Monks, there are these 5 hindrances, pancha nivarana. What 5? The hindrance of sensual desire, the hindrance of ill will or anger, the hindrance of sloth and torpor, the hindrance of restlessness and remorse, the hindrance of doubt. These are the 5 hindrances. This Noble Eightfold Path is to be developed for a direct knowledge of these 5 hindrances, for the full understanding of them, for their utter destruction, for their abandoning. These 5 hindrances are 5 things that obstruct us from seeing clearly. So they are the cause of our being very bodo and blur. So when we practice meditation and when the mind becomes focused, and then these 5 melt away. There's a lot about these 5 hindrances in the chapter on the 7 bojjhanga, because they are the opposite of the 7 bojjhanga. 7 bojjhanga bring you to enlightenment. These 5 hindrances bring you away from enlightenment. That's why when we meditate, the most important aim of meditation is to get rid of the 5 hindrances. When the 5 hindrances are got rid of, then only wisdom can arise. The next sutta is 45.179. Monks, there are these 5 lower factors, sangyojana. What 5? Identity view, sakaya ditti, doubt, the distorted grasp of rules and vows, silabbata paramasa, sensual desire, ill will. These are the 5 lower factors. This Noble Eightfold Path is to be developed for direct knowledge of these 5 lower factors, for the full understanding of them, for their destruction, for their abandoning. These 5 lower factors, when a person attains sotapanna, the first fruit of Aryahood, the first 3 are eliminated: identity view, doubt, and attachment to rules and vows. And then when a person attains sakadagamin, the second fruit, then sensual desire and ill will are weakened. And then when one attains anagamin, sensual desire and ill will are eliminated, so that all the 5 lower factors are eliminated for an anagamin. This identity view is to identify oneself with the body and the mind. Doubt is doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, not having faith. And then this attachment to rules and rituals, or rules and vows, means cling to these rules and vows, not understanding that they are only meant for a purpose. The next sutta, 45.180. Monks, there are these 5 higher factors. What 5? Lust for form, lust for the formless, conceit, restlessness, ignorance. These are the 5 higher factors. The Noble Eightfold Path is to be developed for direct knowledge of these 5 higher factors, for the full understanding of them, for their utter destruction, for their abandoning. But Noble Eightfold Path, here monks, a monk develops right view, right thoughts, right speech, etc. up to right concentration, which are based upon seclusion, dispassion and cessation, maturing in release. This Noble Eightfold Path is to be developed for direct knowledge of these 5 higher factors, for the full understanding of them, for their utter destruction, for their abandoning. I don't know why they repeat. So, these 5 higher factors, what are they? The first one is lust for form. Actually, it means attachment to be reborn in the form realm. The desire to be reborn in the jhana planes, the form realm. And the second one is the desire to be reborn in the formless realm. That means the realm of the arupa jhanas. The conceit is the I am, that feeling, that perception within us that I exist. And restlessness is another one. Ignorance is another one. Ignorance of the 4 Noble Truths. So, when a person destroys the 5 higher factors, only he attains arahanthood. Arahant destroys the 5 higher factors. So you see how these 5 higher factors, ignorance is only destroyed by an arahant. Even an anagamin has not destroyed ignorance, still has a bit of ignorance. And restlessness also. Restlessness, only the arahant is totally cool. The arahant is totally cool. There's no more restlessness. Then the conceit, I exist. Only the arahant has eliminated that. So when the arahant eliminates all these, he stands way above all the others in the world. That's the end of that chapter, 45. Maybe we go into the Bojjhangas tomorrow. They're quite heavy going. Anything to discuss? Or shall we stop here? That one is Silabhata Paramasa, clinging to rules and rituals, or clinging to rules and vows. Aspiration is to aspire to something, to make a wish, to attain something. But making a vow is actually not very practical. A lot of people think that you make a vow to be reborn in the Pure Land, or you make a vow to bring beings to the Pure Land, and all this. I guess to most people's mind, it's like a stronger aspiration, because it is a vow. It's like a do or die thing. It must succeed. But I think the Buddha says that what we want in the world cannot be achieved by prayers, cannot be achieved by making vows, cannot be achieved by thinking of them every day. We have to do the practical work of working towards what we want. And that working towards what we want, walking to where we want to go, you must walk in the right direction, as I mentioned just now. If you grind sand hoping to get oil, you'll never get oil until you die. So making vows by themselves is pointless in the Buddha's Dhamma, since the Buddha says, you're not going to get what you want by making vows. So, making aspiration also, in a way also is useless, unless it is backed up by the effort. That's why the Buddha says of all wholesome states, diligence, energetic effort is the chief, is the most important. So whatever we want to achieve, no need to make a vow. We just aspire to achieve what we want, and then forget about the aspiration and just do the work. If you put all your attention in working for what you want to get, then you will definitely get it. I think I remember reading somewhere where I think the Buddha said that if a person's mind is the determination is very strong, then even the Deva also cannot obstruct you. So like for example, the Buddha's determination to become enlightened was so strong that he worked so hard for it. Even Mara wants to obstruct him from becoming enlightened. Mara also is unable to obstruct him. So it depends on whose will is stronger. Yes, but it's a wrong view. Many years ago, we had a Malaysian monk who was telling people that when you do dana, when you do charity, when you make offerings, you should make a vow. May the merit of this charity enable me to obtain this and obtain that, or be released from samsara and all that. But in the Buddha's teachings, this kind of vow is useless. In fact, in the suttas, the Buddha says it has the opposite effect. It is actually lessen the merit of your dana. If you do charity with aim or a motive to attain something, that means you have a selfish thought. When you have a selfish thought, then the merit of your dana, your charity, becomes less. But if you do your charity because you think it's good, that you should do it because it benefits others, and you're happy to do it without thinking of anything in return, then that is higher blessing. It's not like you're doing a swap. You're trying to give something and you want to get something back like that. Okay, shall we stop here for tonight?